Welcome to The Explainer. Let's dive right into the hidden rhythms of the mind and uncover the incredibly, almost weirdly counterintuitive way psychedelics actually alter our brainwaves.
We naturally tend to picture our brains as these rigid networks of wires, right? Like neurons just firing signals down cables. But timing is literally everything. As this quote perfectly captures, a brain is an orchestra. Beneath every single thought you're having at this very second, billions of neurons are pulsing together in synchronized waves.
These oscillations, what we all know as brainwaves, aren't just background noise or some random exhaust. They are the fundamental grammar of the mind. They act as a clock, a conductor, and a filing system all rolled into one, basically deciding what actually makes it into your conscious awareness. According to a landmark neuroscience review by Buzsaki and Draguhn, these rhythms span a massive, million-fold range. Take a look at this progression here. We go from the slow, deep swells of delta during deep sleep, ramping up through theta, alpha, beta, and finally to the fast flicker of gamma waves when your brain is just intensely focused. This right here is the vital computational work making billions of slow, noisy cells actually act as a single, unified brain.
Section 1. Alpha, the mind's gatekeeper.
Let's zoom right in on that alpha wave. This is the dominant rhythm of the resting human brain, and it's actually strongest over the visual cortex, right at the back of your head. Now, our understanding of alpha has completely shifted. It was once dismissed as just the brain idling in neutral, but we now know it's an active inhibitory gatekeeper. It literally silences what the brain wants to ignore. Through a process called predictive coding, which is where the brain constantly guesses what's going to happen next based on past experience, alpha enforces those confident top-down expectations. It's actively filtering your senses based on the brain's own internal model of the world.
So think about this. If high alpha is basically the sound of the brain rigidly filtering your senses and keeping certain regions offline, what on earth happens to your perception if we lower that gate?
That brings us to Section 2. Psychedelics, turn down volume. The broadband collapse.
Now, you might reasonably assume that a vivid, highly energetic psychedelic experience would just flood the brain with energy, right? Speed everything up. But the science reveals a massive twist. In a 2013 study using a highly precise brain scanner, researchers found that psilocybin didn't speed rhythms up at all. Actually, it caused a broadband collapse. Just look at the contrast here. The rigid, highly ordered rhythms of our normal waking state fall completely quiet. They collapse into desynchronization, especially in those networks linked to our sense of ego and self.
And the researchers discovered something absolutely fascinating here. The specific drop in alpha power over the visual cortex directly matched the intensity of the visual effects. So the more that alpha gate fell silent, the more intense the visions became. You turn down the rhythm that constrains the brain, and well, the constrained is finally set free.
Next up, Section 3. DMT and the dream state. Swapping the outer rhythm for an inner one.
So this quieting effect happens across classical psychedelics like psilocybin and LSD for sure. But studies on DMT reveal an astonishing additional layer to the whole story. A 2019 placebo-controlled EEG study found that while DMT did suppress the alpha and beta rhythms that normally anchor us to external reality, the peak visionary state triggered a massive surge in slow delta and theta waves.
And this specific alpha-down, theta-up pattern isn't random at all. It is literally the exact rhythmic signature of dreaming. This strongly suggests the brain is switching from processing the outside world to actively generating and running an internal one. It echoes exactly how a DMT breakthrough feels. It's not just the distortion of this world, but total immersion in another.
Moving to Section 4. Quieting opens the mind. Less structure equals more experience. It honestly seems completely paradoxical that a less synchronized rhythm leads to more profound experiences, doesn't it? But this actually fits beautifully into the entropic brain hypothesis. See, ordinary waking consciousness is tightly governed by these strong rhythms, which enforce our habits and our sense of self. By collapsing that oscillatory order, psychedelics raise the brain's entropy. They lower the top-down gate, which loosens the grip of those dominant mental models and allows a vastly expanded range of previously suppressed states to just break right through into your conscious awareness. Now let's consider entrainment. External rhythms, like a steady drum beat or carefully chosen music, can literally push and pull on the brain's natural oscillations. With the brain's inner rhythms destabilized by a psychedelic, it becomes highly susceptible to being guided by outside sounds. This completely explains why music is so universally woven into psychedelic practices across cultures. The inner rhythm and the outer rhythm simply find each other.
It's kind of like your brain is finally open to taking requests from the DJ. Finally, Section 5, the science grounded, essential cautions and clinical realities.
Okay, before we wrap up, we absolutely must ground this mystical-seeming topic in rigorous clinical realities. While cortical desynchronization, meaning the actual drop in brainwave volume, is a very robust, highly replicated scientific finding, interpreting this as expanded consciousness is still an evolving theory. We have to remember that brainwaves are a highly coarse measure of staggeringly complex activity. Furthermore, these discoveries all took place in strictly controlled clinical settings using pure compounds, precise dosing, and highly screened participants. Psychedelics carry serious risks, especially for those with a history of psychosis, and they remained illegal in most places. This neuroscience is a fascinating way of understanding the experience, but definitely not a recipe for having one.
We'll leave you with this beautifully distilled thought from the source material. The mind is a kind of music. Change the rhythm and you change the mind. So, if our stable, familiar, everyday reality is simply governed by the rigid tempo of our brainwaves, what other music might your mind be capable of playing?